Hello, my name is Manny Martinez, chef at the Manor North with Willow Valley Communities. I've been with Willow Valley for a little over 8 years, and one of the things that I love the most about Willow Valley is the relationships that I've been able to build with the residents as well as fellow team members. Another thing that I really love about Willow Valley is the location. We are located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we are so rich and vibrant with local produce that we are able to source pretty much year-round, and they make it onto the menu cycles the entire year. Today we're going to be walking you through what is sure to be a household favorite this fall. It is a pan-seared pork chop with a sage, brown sugar, and pecan compound butter, as well as sweet mashed potatoes and roasted Brussels sprouts. So what's important to make sure of when you're cooking is to make sure all of your food comes out at the same time. So we're going to do what takes the longest first. We're going to start with the Brussels sprouts here. We have a little bit of olive oil that we're going to douse these in. A little bit of salt, and then some cracked black pepper. We're going to toss these lightly. We're going to try to keep those Brussels sprouts as together as possible. We'll grab our baking pan here. Now our oven currently is preset to 350 degrees. We're going to go with a little bit of olive oil on the bottom of the pan just to make sure that these don't stick. We'll spread them out nice and even. It's important to make sure that you have one flat layer so that they all cook evenly. Now, a little trick to know is we are going to add a little bit of water to the bottom of this pan. The reason I'm doing this is not only will it aid in the cooking, but it will also help steam these to cook them better and have them be really nice and tender and not have the outside be too charred and burnt. Okay, so we're going to pop these in the oven. Okay, we're going to move on to our mashed sweet potatoes, which I'm actually using Yams for. We want to make sure our water is boiling, and we're going to add a little bit of salt to our water. Make sure that water is boiling, and then these potatoes are going to go straight in. Now, those Brussels sprouts are cooking currently, and by the time they're done, hopefully we'll have these mashed up and ready to go for plating. We're going to let those go for about 20-ish minutes, and then we'll check on them, make sure they're really fork tender and that they mash really nice. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our pork chops. These pork chops I actually put in a salt brine this morning, so they're all ready to go. We're going to start processing them. It's important to know with the salt brine, it really helps infuse the flavor throughout the protein. A good ratio to remember is 1 gallon of water to 1 cup of salt. So we're going to take a couple of these. We're going to rinse off that brine really nice, and then we're going to transfer these right over to a towel. We're going to pat dry these really nice. This is going to aid in the Maillard reaction, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Make sure they're really nice and dry, and we're going to go with some cracked black pepper right on top. You can go ahead and press those in so that we don't lose those once this hits the oil in the pan. We have a saute pan here that is already nice and hot. We're going to give a little bit of oil to the bottom here just to make sure that we don't stick. And then these are going to go. Now when these hit the pan, you want to hear a nice sear. This is going to lock in all the flavors, and it's also going to aid in the Maillard reaction. Now the Maillard reaction is what happens when the amino acids and the sugars start to reduce. This is going to lock in all of that really nice flavor, keep it nice and moist and beautiful, and it'll give that really nice crunch on the outside. Now we're going to let these go for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes on this side to get a really nice sear on that, and then we're going to go ahead and flip them. We'll let this go for just about 1 minute. Let the other side get a little bit. While we're doing that, we're actually going to go ahead and add some butter in there. This is really going to enhance the flavor of the pork. And we're going to start basting it. You'll see that here in a minute. We're going to go with some crushed garlic, as well as some sage leaves to get that nice flavor in there. And we'll use these sage leaves later on as well for the garnish. Now let that butter seep into all that garlic and that sage. We're going to take this butter and we're just going to baste it right over top of these pork chops. Get all that nice flavor just infused into those pork chops. Okay, so here we have our yams. They're all done. They're nice and fork tender, so they are ready to mash. Now we're gonna add a little bit of butter in here. And that'll melt with the hot potatoes there. A little bit of brown sugar. About 1.5 tablespoons. If you like them really sugary, you just go with a little bit more. Now our heavy cream. A little bit right on top. You want to add a little bit of it at a time, just to make sure that we don't have too much in there. Now we're going to beat this on low. Try not to make too much of a mess here. All right, and I'd say those are about ready to go. Now we're going to take these mashed potatoes, and we're going to start our plating process right now. So we're going to take these mashed. We'll go right off of the center of the plate here. Our Brussels sprouts should be just about done right now. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful cook on those Brussels sprouts. We'll put them on the side. Now right now we're going to take one of our pork chops that we let rest for just a little bit. We'll slice this down into a few really nice slices here. We should have a really nice juicy pork chop. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Now we're going to take this and we're going to set this right off of that thing. Really nice. We got a little potato on there. Now it is time for our Brussels sprouts. We'll take a few Brussels sprouts, plate them right beside. We got nice caramelization out of these Brussels sprouts. They look absolutely beautiful. Okay, so now that we have everything else plated, we're going to go ahead with our compound butter. Now, compound butter you can make pretty much out of anything. This one that I have here is a brown sugar, pecan, and sage compound butter. I like to use compound butters on steaks. I usually put chives in them. You can really do it for whatever you have. We're just going to take a couple of these slices. We're going to place them right over top. Now, the pork should be hot and it should start melting, and it will just melt over top and act pretty much as a sauce for that. Now, we're going to take some sage. Because we have sage in it, we're going to use this sage as a garnish. We're going to take this sage and we're going to roll it like that. And then we're going to do it we're going to slice it really nice and thin. Now this is called a chiffonade cut. Really beautiful for garnish. And we'll just go right over top of that. And here we have our finished product. We have a pan-seared pork chop with a brown sugar, sage, and pecan compound butter, roasted Brussels sprouts, and mashed sweet potatoes.